Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to introduce a useful functionality provided by most of the virtual machines. Right? In QEmu, we call it the overlay. This is useful when you need to, for example, to do some experiments on installing a package. And if the package installation fails, we can quickly roll back to the original state. Otherwise, we commit, we merge the change to the file system. So in QEmu, we now we have the virtual disk here, UB.dsk. This is the virtual hard disk. Now this is the current status. So let's just consider it's the base layer, and we would like to make it read-only, so that we cannot modify. And later, when we would like to revert to this state, this is always safe. However, during the system is running, there should be something read and write. Some processes would read or write to the hard disk. So we need to create a read-write layer on top of the UB.dsk. In QEmu, this layer is called, we may call it the base layer, or you may call it the backing store. So the command is, in our QEmu 10, again, the QEmu img. So let's create an image. The image format is of copy on write, and we specify the backing store. The backing store format. Sometimes QEmu img is smart enough to detect the disk format. However, here I just manually specify the disk format. Now the overlay layer, let's call it UB overlay.dsk. So by this one, we need to use the subcommand create. Now you could see that this is the base layer and this is the overlay layer. So when we use the disk with the entry UB overlay, we consider this is a read-write layer. However, it has a base image based on UB. So now we may consider here disk name dash overlay. So later we will use the overlay as the access. So now let's start our virtual machine. And connect, just reconnect. We need to wait for the system ready. So let's make some change, to our file system or to the disk. For example, simply nano file. So now we have a text file in our home directory, and let's see what happened to the hard disk. Okay, you will see that the UB overlay size is changed, okay, because during the boot process there are some logs written to the file system, and we also create a small file, so all the write, okay, all the change to the disk image will be recorded here, okay, just recorded here, so we don't touch, okay, anything, okay, we don't change anything in the base layer. So suppose, okay, suppose we don't like the change, we would like to revert, okay, to the original state, okay. For example, we've already make a file and we don't like it, so let's recreate the overlay layer. So now it's a fresh new, okay, overlay layer. Let's boot the system again and see if we, oh sorry, if we revert, okay, to the original state. Okay, you could see that aa.txt disappear, okay, because we revert to the state before we create this file. Now let's demonstrate. Let me demonstrate something. Okay. So this time we create bb.txt, and so suppose we accept the change, okay, to the disk, and we would like to merge the change to the base layer. Sometimes this is useful. This is required because overlay layer is actually an overhead, okay, while accessing the virtual disk. Right? Let's consider if we would like to read a file, we access the overlay to see whether the file, okay, there is a modified version in the overlay layer. If it is not found, we further make a request to the underlying read-only layer to see whether we can read it. Okay? If we can access the file, okay, we read the file. Otherwise, the file is not existent. So this overlay layer is convenient. However, when we accumulate a lot of changes to the base layer, it makes the access okay, pretty expensive. So when you use overlay, maybe you need to commit the changes back to the read-only layer, okay, regularly. So let me demonstrate how to commit. Again, QEmu img, and we use the commit command, and we specify the backing store file DSK, and we specify the overlay layer. This is the journal of the change. Okay, so UB overlay that DSK. Okay, so let's commit. Now it says image committed. Basically, we can safely reset the overlay layer. According to the document, it says whenever it is committed, the overlay layer, all the logs are cleared. Maybe this is the case, but here, to save disk space, I would like to create the overlay file again, to keep it small. And now okay, let's check. You will see that in this case, bb.txt is here, and since we explicitly clear the overlay layer, that implies bb.txt becomes part of the base image. So in this example, the demonstration, we demonstrate how to create an overlay layer and then use the overlay layer as the entry point to the virtual hard disk. Afterwards, we may drop or clear the overlay layer to revert to the previous state, or commit the result to the base layer to make it more efficient.